host. This is Lady Nick, and this evening I'm in the studio with.
Hey, you guys, this is Cicely Victoria of Passion International.
All right, we are celebrating motherhood this month here in TLC Town. Everything about just not only being a biological mom, but being a mentor, being a sister, being an auntie. And Cicely brought an interesting topic, as usual, to my attention. So I thought I'd let her lead this evening. So go ahead, Cicely, you have the studio.
Okay. Hey, everyone. I wanted to communicate firstly why I wanted to do a little different twist, if you will, on today's segment. I was going to, talk about motherhood and things of that nature and come up with information as best as I could. But seeing as though I'm not a natural mother, I've been like a spiritual mother and even mentor to many, but I've never birthed any children. But I believe that is one of the most rewarding and applaudable, if you will, careers. It is a job, a full-time job that those have that should be acknowledged. And so I really wanted to give credence to an actual mom who is very near and dear to me, which is my best friend, and her journey in the joys and pains or challenges of motherhood. To actually hear from someone's experience in that regard, who is are with children every day, all day. So that's what we're going to be speaking about today and focusing on.
Awesome. Because as you're talking, it's funny how I don't have a biological children either, but I have mentored. But there is something about the spiritual connection of a mother-daughter relationship that the bond is just it's undescribable.
Yeah.
So the fact that I know what you're going to bring to us today is going to bring us a lot of insight, because you are the mental health professional in the community, but also a practical, day to day kind of ministering to the mothers out there who are biological mothers, because
Hmm.
sometimes you just need that woman's touch to sort of
Yeah.
kind of minister to you. It's not that, we're not mothers in the sense of biologically, but definitely we have birthed some leaders that have definitely impacted the business community, the medical community. So, you know what? I'm just going to let you go ahead and take the stage because I'm thinking while you're talking. And I'm like, and I really, and like you, it's like, I really don't want to act like, I know what mothers out there are feeling like. I was like, please
Right.
sit down
Yeah,
somewhere and go find something to do. Because,
exactly.
there's nothing like that spiritual biological connection. And we recognize that. So we're in nowhere saying that we know what you're saying, but we do talk to moms that have ministered in that aspect.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had to kind of proxy as mother, if you will, and opportunities in which I've had in being a counselor or being a teacher, or being a mentor, and just being the person who I am, even in the ministry community. So understandable, but I by no means, I guess, how can I say, I'm humbled at those who actually, don't get the time off or what have you from their natural children. I can be available for those youth or children during my work time or during church time or ministry time, but I get a chance to separate and kiss them and allow them to go back to their real parents, quote unquote. And and I get to go home and I don't have to have them with me all the time. But the natural mothers out there who have actually birthed their children, they don't get days off. They don't get time off. And so I want to recognize them, with my best friend being one of them, and she being a type of shero, as I call her, my my Shiro, female version of a full-time wife and a full-time mother. So she does a lot, and sometimes I look at her and like, wow, I don't see how she does it all. It seems pretty impossible, but I believe that God gives just an added grace to those who have to wear all of those hats, including motherhood. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
we
was gonna
can
say,
go
why
ahead
don't you
and
go ahead and introduce us to her?
yeah, yeah. Why don't I do that? Okay, so I just want to set the stage up for before we can get rolling in there. So, unfortunately, she can't be in the studio with us today. Would have loved for her to be on live with us, but I will stand proxy for her, and I have all of her information, and she was just excited to be able to contribute to this conversation, and I'm just literally going to share her thoughts, and then we can have some conversation around those, and that'll be it. So, my dearly beloved best friend for I would say 9 years now, 9 years, probably going on 10 years, is none other than Karen Purnell. Is her name, and she currently resides in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She is from Chicago, but her and the family moved there about going on a couple of years ago. And she has three children that she has birthed herself, and she has one stepchild from her husband's previous marriage. So her children that she have range from 3 years old, a daughter named Elise. She has 9-year old son named Ian, who is my godson, as a matter of fact, and she has an 11-year-old son named Ethan, and she has, I want to say, Saduri. Her stepdaughter is maybe about 20 years old, maybe going on 21, something of that nature. So four children, so pretty full household, and has been married for, I want to say 14 years. She probably, I can't keep up with them. They've been married a while. They've been married a while, and so yeah, and she is not that much older than me, so just still very, very young, and very full life. So she gave me the joys and the challenges of her experience as a motherhood. And we can start with the joys. And maybe, I don't know if we want to do like, do all the joys and then go into the challenges, or start with challenges and go into the
Let's
joys. What do
let's
you
do
think?
the joys because I know moms deal a lot with challenges, and a lot of times when I share with them some joy, they're like, "Thank you, I so needed that right now." So, mom, we're gonna share the joy because we're gonna realize that maybe you had a rough day today, and tuning into the podcast today is just gonna lift your spirits.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is our great expectation. And so, yeah, I just want to thank Karen again for her availability. And I know that she'll be excited even to be able to hear the cast after it is released and all. So, the first one that she mentioned about one of her greatest stories was the carrying and birthing experience for her. She mentioned that she really enjoyed being pregnant, and she loved all of the specialty made clothes and attention that she received. But most of all, she loved knowing that she was a carrier of life, and that only God could orchestrate something like this. She loved praying and singing and reading, talking to her children while in her womb, and especially when they would move around in response to things of that sort, which I thought was pretty awesome. Even before they were born, she loved them, and carrying her kids, she mentioned, helped her to understand how great God's love is towards his children. I thought that was a powerful, powerful statement, and could understand that. She said choosing their names was a fun adventure too, because her and her husband chose to pick names that were meaningful, which felt like they were helping to shape their purpose and significance in life. And then finally seeing the child that she's been carrying for 9 months is the greatest joy in the world. She mentioned, and to have their siblings welcome them home is even greater. Want to
What
ponder something
I
from
do, I do want to
from the
chime in
information?
because every time time you mention something, I do want to chime in because I go back to the first time I saw a baby move in a mom's womb. When I
Yeah.
tell you, like, I had a visceral reaction, like, oh my
Right.
goodness. Now, mind you,
Yeah.
I had seen pregnant women before, but
Right.
something about when I saw the baby's arm wave, ripple across her womb,
Right.
I
I
wanted to
know.
cry,
Yeah. I
because,
actually think that's pretty freaky.
you know,
I was like, oh my goodness. It is a pretty freaky thing to see, but it's very amazing
I
indeed.
know it's kind of like that dual, like, did I just see something move inside of you?
Right.
And the
Right.
other part is like, that is a human being. And mind you, I wasn't born again at the time, so I wasn't,
Yeah.
praising God at the moment. But it was just that moment of just witnessing life being
Yeah.
formed and shaped within. And she was a happy mom too, so that was another good part about it, because she was a mom that didn't mind you, like, touching her stomach, when the baby moved, and she would
Right.
tell you when the baby liked something or didn't like something. So it's like
Hmm.
at work, she let us experience a little bit of her world, with us, because it can be very private, very intimate. So
Yeah.
whenever moms share with me, like, what they're feeling or what they're going through, it's, for me, it's amazing. It's just completely
Yes.
amazing. And mind you, because I've never been through birth before, I've heard
Yes.
those stories too. And it's like, oh,
Yes.
I've heard some hilarious, when I say like hilarious, you wouldn't believe some of the delivery stories that come out when women are just like, they're not just like reach in and get this baby out, but it's like some like phenomenally historical, hilarious moments between them and their doctor and the nursing
Hmm.
staff that have happened.
Hmm.
So those, you can
Definitely.
sometimes reflect on those with even a little bit of smile, because sometimes, pregnancies don't always go too well, and they can be a very strenuous time. But I hope
Hmm.
that that segment sort of kind of brought a smile to your face. I'm gonna try and track down some of the stories that I remember hearing, and that's one of the things I like about doing these podcasts, because it causes us to remember, in those challenging moments, there were a few glimpses of light. There were a few glimpses of, hey, guess what? God is forming something new in you.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hmm. So, yeah, so we have a couple more and lot more information. So we'll keep moving. The second one, Joy, for her was the relationship experience that she has with them. And so she mentioned that she loves spending time with them and creating memories and traditions. And she felt like this was giving them a sense of security, stability, and belonging, which would shape their identity. And her heart is glad to see them happy, joyful, and free.
Amen.
So I thought that was a great thing to say. Just chiming in on my, relationship, even with my mom too. Those memories and traditions, very much meant the world to me as a child. Just thinking and reflecting on motherhood. And so definitely I can. Relate to what Karen is mentioning and how definitely those memories and traditions will live on in the hearts and lives of our children, even as they get older and become adults, and they'll never forget. So those are some of the greatest moments I know I had with my mom growing up, and I know that her children will also remember that. And then shaping their identity too. I was just referencing to a friend. I know the one of the reasons that I have for my love of exercising today actually is because I saw my mom do it for many years when I was younger. And so she was an avid, aerobics queen, if you will. And like Jane Fonda was her girl, like way back in the day. That's how, go way back in the day, Jane Fonda, when she was, she was the it person for aerobics without intention. It was just like something that you were supposed to do. Like you were supposed to enjoy exercising, going to the gym. And so I do it, very mumuch today, have since I've been in my 20s. So, and I was an athlete as well. So yeah, it's
And
something that, lives on.
yeah, it's funny how you say that, because it's like, I've always loved mother-daughter conversations with my best friends,
Mhm.
because yes, we I have as I get older, as I mature, I'm finding myself more and more appreciating my mom for the simple things that she used to do. Like she used to actually bake bread, on Sundays.
Yeah.
She would you would come in the house definitely, because we're all like multicultural in this family. You would have an aroma when you came home from school. She worked
Mhm.
while we were, going to school, but even when we were outside playing, late at night, she's like get in the bathtub, when we come in, but there was always an aroma of home, so
Yeah.
she definitely, because now as I'm loving the art of trying to figure out how to cook certain meals and, set my own taste to different things. And
Mhm.
and a lot of the kids, the grown adults now that I've mentored, I definitely appreciated the moments where I did have to prepare something for them, because it brought them a good memory about being a provider, being
Yeah.
a
Sure.
point of resource, so like you're
Mhm.
saying, like activity, working out. I was like, my mom would be food, and sewing.
Yeah. There
If
you
I,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And I mean that it's amazing like how that, really does help to shape our identity even to the extent of maybe sometimes what, certain professions we go into and things of that nature. Just real quick, I'm not certain, about how my mom instills in me like the love for education and love for school and how much she harped on me at the time about that, which I hated, but who knows like how much
Who
I
didn't?
really did. But yeah, I really did. I wish she, would have got off my
Lay
case
off,
sometimes, but
mom.
yeah, because of the high standards that she set for me, it really could have shaped my desire to become a teacher,
Mhm.
in which I was in that profession for 15 years. So who knows, what influence that she had in that regard, because she just instilled in me a joy of learning and education and excellence in that in academics. And so, it's pretty cool.
Okay, what's another
It,
joy? Or maybe you might want to mix it up and put a challenge in there.
oh, sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Because actually she gives us a bonus joy.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we have plenty, and that's that's super cool. So one of the greatest challenges, pain or sorrow, if you will, of motherhood that she mentioned about was number one, not being accepted. She did mention that rejection is a part of life, but it does hurt to see your kids go through that. She said her children have had their share of rejection from peers, classmates, family members, teachers, coaches, and this is one of the reasons that she works so hard to make sure they are accepted at home. I thought that that was a very, very
Man, that's
just
awesome.
profound, yeah, profound
Mhm.
statement because, well, my experience wasn't a lot of times because of challenges that I had at home. Like I dealt with rejection too, but a lot of it actually came from home. So,
Mhm.
and and being and having growing up in the only child experience, that's something totally different, and even without a father. And so, you deal with those rejection issues when you don't have two parents at home. And so, that so I didn't deal with it as heavily, I guess, in the external forces as I did maybe in my family structure. But here, as she's mentioning how she's able to have the influence, the primary influence of making sure that they're accepted at home, even as they're experiencing that, as they go out into their world. And that's awesome because that the influence that she's giving to them at home is the one that's going to stick and is going to make the world of difference, you know actually, I would say, it's better that they're experiencing rejection more so externally or from outside forces, if you will, as opposed to their immediate family structure, because that's the one that's going to have the primary influence in their lives and the one that's going to make the biggest difference.
Is I don't know if it's the getting more mature. It's like I'm, or even as I got received just deliverance on some issues, is that I want my home to be a safe haven.
Yeah.
It's like even if like I went through challenges, all the whatever. It's like we've all had our stuff, and home became a place where I could like let go, let loose, cry it all out, all of that, even in times of when it wasn't the safe place to be, but I'm more of like, you know what, if you can make it home, I promise you I'll keep you safe here.
That's great. Yeah, and
You
it
know?
seems like, yeah, it definitely seems like that is her experience with her children and at home, and definitely from me being, a part of their home life on, several occasions, and just being over there and seeing them in action, if you will. I can definitely attest to that. And,
And just to
anyone who,
add, let me just
yeah,
add to that, because I think in the beginning I was going to say this, but I thought maybe I add this now. A lot of times, like when, like, you go through your teenage phase, in American culture, and a lot of times when I do turn around and tell mom, like, most of what we talk about, and I tell the child, like, okay, I'm gonna discuss this, with your mom or your dad. It's not that I want it to be private, but I want you to be healed as a result of it. And
right,
this may be going off on a rabbit trail, but I'll bring it back home.
okay,
My thinking is a lot of times when they start like letting go of, one is spiritual, because the Spirit of the Lord wants to deal with that area in their life. But I always tell the mom, like, why they tell me that? Because I'm not mom.
right.
You see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
absolutely.
Right, because
Sure.
it's like, because your mom, it's like you're gonna say, "Oh no, baby, you're beautiful. Oh no, baby, don't listen to that." And
Yeah.
but the not mom person in your life may go, "You know what? You may want to look at that. The way you said that, or
Yeah.
the way you acted, or the way you came across and what you said. And in a
Mhm.
loving environment, yes, you want to embrace your child, to make them feel safe and comfortable, but also you don't want to, how do you say, I can't even find the word, but it's not
Like
like, it's
pacify them?
like a incubate kind of
Like
thing.
pacify?
Thank you, pacify, where they
Yeah.
think like everything they do is just wonderful. It's like, yeah, no.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
Totally not. Totally not. Yeah,
Yeah.
just with Karen, and just having witnessed her and her mothering, what I do respect highly from her is that she's very level-headed with her kids. Like, she's very fair, she's very balanced. And if I could imagine me being a mother, I think that we would be very much similar in our approach.
Yeah, she'd be a person
And
you'd run to and be like, help.
yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, she's very sober minded, and so I respect her mothering definitely, because her kids are very loved, but they also know that she doesn't play any games, and
Oh
so
yeah.
that's a good thing. That's a
Right.
good thing. They have reverence and respect for their parents, and and they still are kids, they still try to get away with stuff, but they have healthy boundaries, and they have a healthy respect system and structure in their home. And so they got a well-oiled machine, and I just love what the Purnells are doing in their household. So
You know what? I
that's great.
can't. I hope one day we can have her in the studio, hopefully, for the summer or maybe the fall, because I'd love to know, like, how, you said she's been married and dealing with this, wonderful family, but how long did it take her to get this balance? You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
that's a good question. Certainly.
'Cause,
Certainly. Yeah,
go
speaking
ahead.
to yeah, that would be good just to discover as well. Well, another challenge that is really real to the Purnell household and her as a mother is that she has a child that the doctors say is on the autism spectrum. And
Okay.
he's actually my godson, Ian, who I mentioned, the middle child. And so early on, she thought that I'm sorry, early on, she said she would have thoughts and feelings that she did something wrong
Mm.
to make her child the way that he was. And this made it worse when going to outings such as birthday parties and family meetings to attend that threaten your child's future and were filled with hopeless comments and negativity.
Mm.
And finally, rejection is ever present for this child, so friendships are rare or non existent. And although this is one of the greatest sorrows, it has turned as one of the greatest joys because, my God, she says.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
And certainly, and that's another, I mean, great joy I could speak to, and being around for the entire spectrum of him coming into the world and to date, and him, being just recently turning 9. He just has blossomed and bloomed so beautifully, and far above and beyond, I would say, what you would expect stereotypically or traditionally from someone on that spectrum,
Mhm.
on the autistic spectrum. And I do agree with her in regarding, like, that's the power and influence of God, and what God does, how God makes the difference, basically. And so what a traditional, maybe, child on that spectrum might have to be challenged with, Ian has just been, you know, just going leaps and bounds, and acceleration in his development, where it wouldn't probably be expected. And so it's a beautiful thing to behold, and to see. And when at first it looks very kind of hopeless, initially, and with his delayed development, but then it's like when it kicked in, like it kicked in full throttle, and he just kept going by leaps and bounds. And so that's also a very personal joy, for
Awesome.
me, in
Awesome.
having witnessed that. Hmm.
Yeah, especially as a mental health professional and as a praying woman, you believe God for the miraculous. You just know that for whatever reason there's a situation, he can always work through certain scenarios to say, you know what, we're going to just believe for healing or restoration. You don't know when, you don't know where, you don't know how, but you just keep praying about it because he knows all things. So when
Absolutely.
when when you do see the breakthrough, and you're just like, hey, that's not like
Yeah. Yeah.
ordinary. You're kind of like,
Right.
thank you, Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so amazing. Yeah, I was just able to just have a conversation with him recently over the phone, and about him receiving his birthday gifts and all that I sent through the mail, and for me to be able to have like a full-fledged conversation with him, that was very coherent and very like, it made sense. Like,
Awesome.
it be able to do that with him, and I couldn't do that with him like 4 years ago.
Right.
That was just amazing. And it just, it warms my heart so much, because of course, as his godmother, I want to have one of the closest connections with him, than the other child. I love all of the kids. They're really like my own. I share them with Karen, she knows that. But it's like Ian is a very special place in my heart, of course. And I just want the best for him, and he's just so brilliant, and I know he's just going to continue to get greater and greater. And so I just praise God for the successes that he has been accomplishing in life.
Awesome. Well, I am
Mhm.
so privileged to have vicariously met her,
Yeah.
through you, because one of the things that I am becoming more involved in is the autistic community. Shannon
Mhm.
McNeil Williams recently passed away last Thanksgiving. Her son is was diagnosed with autism, and she also wrote a book. And she was a pastor. So,
Mhm.
just to say, like, yes, when I say challenges, like, his mental development was nowhere near your godson, but she is a praying woman, and her husband is also, but I know that the community is surrounding them, now, even after her passing, that he be healed and that he be restored. So it's a growing epidemic. It's not something that is how do you say, is a rare disease, is
Mhm.
what they're
Yeah, it's,
saying.
yeah, more
No,
common.
it's
Yeah,
it's it's growing at an
it is.
epidemic rate.
It is.
So
Mhm. Yeah, and okay. So the last challenge, well, a combination of two. Um the threat of her not being able to carry a child. So Karen suffered a miscarriage prior to Elise coming on the scene. So Elise was kind of like a miracle child for
Mm.
the family, and her and them getting their girl that they so desired. And so, that was challenging for her because, again, she internalized it and thought it was something wrong that she did, that she wasn't capable of bringing forth life anymore. And she was confused and heartbroken about it, of course, because um, how struggle with it to affect the other children and wonder where their sibling went as well. So, and them not understanding, of course, miscarriage being a common um, concept as well, unfortunately for mothers, and sometimes just comes along with the processing. So she was able to get through that, and then came forth Elise, and so we were just ecstatic that God redeemed. It's just also a picture of the redemption of God, and how where you thought maybe my time is up. Like it's over, like God doesn't desire this, and then He breaks through in a different way. And so miscarriage is one of those mysterious challenges and pains, I'm sure, that are is heartbreaking for any family. But when you're able to get redeemed and come through with another child, that's just a beautiful thing to see. And so our heart goes out to those mothers who suffer with those miscarriages at in any point in time. But we're also believing for redemption for them, just as Karen experienced. And so
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Now
Yeah.
I see why you wanted to introduce Karen to us so
Mhm.
much. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
Now
yeah. She's
I'm thinking
that
about
now. You see
definitely.
why I call her my shero. She's like
Wow. And
powerhouse. Yeah,
not only that, because and mind you, like I've had other women, of course, confide in me, different scenarios that they've been through, also miscarriage, and I'm like, I can't wait to introduce her to, maybe we can have like a little mini, mom, sister, girl kind of discussion. I know we talked about that
yeah,
before, but
yeah.
definitely I want to introduce her to some women that not only I think the camaraderie helps
Hmm.
us when we understand, like, yes, I went through that also. Yes,
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
experienced that also, especially as a godly woman.
Absolutely.
You go through ups and downs, ins and
Right,
outs, and it's like, where are
right.
you, Lord?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's so needful. And Karen is very much not just a mentor to youth as I've been as well, but she is just just a heartfelt and compassionate woman. And yeah, she, I'm sure she would love to just be an available source in that regard, and sharing her story and helping how she overcame that and got through that, of course. And so that is something to look forward to. Um,
Awesome,
and
awesome.
so I'll segue in the final challenge and then release the last joy. And this is something that, with her being a full-time professional, as I mentioned, in addition to a full-time mother and full-time wife, she says that she struggles with working full-time outside of the home sometimes. It turns into a sorrow when she sees areas in her kid's life that are really struggling with, or that appear like a certain level of parenting is missing. And she's not wanting them to miss what they need. This feeling can be overwhelming at times, and we know how real that can be, just for the realities of work family life, and when you have that many children, there needs to be a lot of income coming into the house. There are a lot of needs. And as a career woman, human resources director, she has a very, very significant job, very important, and can be taxing, very much at times. And so that is something that she needs to work through. But like I said, she does it like a champ, and her schedule is very tight and right, for her to do all that she needs to do. So but that is something that she has to deal with, and saying like, no, she can't be there for it all. But the impact of even going to work, and even what our children, I'm sure, witness her doing that, how that makes a difference in their work ethic as well.
Wow. Well, Mrs. Karen Parnell, it has been a joy and a privilege to vicariously meet you. I can't wait to get in touch with you, to talk more in depth about some of the things that Cicely shared with us this evening. You know,
One more. I
Go
have to
ahead.
mention
No,
this
you
more
got
though.
time.
Okay.
Sure. Go ahead. I'm
Okay,
loving
cool. Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I hope
yeah.
you're loving
So
this too,
awesome.
listeners.
Good. I really hope that you are, and that it's blessing someone. Karen would definitely, that would just be her desire. And again, we just thank her for sharing her life with us today. So her last joy, everyone, is her fruit of labor experience. So when she says her words, when that little 3-year old says, "It's okay, mom, by his stripes I am healed," that would be Elise speaking. And or your 8-year old would willingly lead family night prayer, that will be Ian, or your 11-year-old holds you accountable for missing morning devotion time or church. And finally, when you see your personal prayers answered, you just experienced the fruit of your labor. And so, she said, from the time that they were in the womb, the caring experience, we've instilled Christian values into them, that and to see that manifest as they grow and mature makes the whole experience worth it. And it's not only a spiritual fruit, but a natural fruit shines forth, as well as like academic and athletic achievement expressed through high standards for themselves and persistently trying their best. And so that's just amazing. I would say I probably can resonate in saying like that would be a universal joy, I would say, of every mother. Just to see their children actually thriving in the seeds that they planted in them, for so many years before they even came to fruition, and it is their mother. It is a mother's greatest joy, I would say, because my mom still raves of me as a very grown adult child, but she still raves. It's like my little girl and like what she's done. We're always little girls to our parents,
Yes.
and but she still, like, raves to me to her friends anytime I do a great accomplishment, and that's super special. She thinks it's more great than I do sometimes, and that's just the power of being a mother, because you probably couldn't ask for anything more, just to see your children successful and maybe going further and doing more in life than you have done, and even just walking in the seeds that you planted in them, as the scripture, communicates, to train up that child in a way that they should go. When they're old, they won't depart from it. And so it's a good thing we can actually see that, and you say, wow, thank you, Lord. So amazing. They're rock stars. And so they get on her nerves, as all children do, especially being little ones. But they I know her life is just so full, and her heart is just so full of the reward that, God, she's seeing like godly children being reared, and how they will grow up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And I mean, and they love Jesus, and so, I mean, really sincerely, like, not because their parents do, they really have a personal relationship with God. And that's one of the things I greatly respect about Karen and her husband, that they took the time, to make sure that they made that connection with God, and they have it personally for themselves. And so that's going to make all the difference in their lives. And this last one that she said she had it to add was about this miracle child we talked about, named Elise, who is the only girl of the family that she's birthed. She does have a stepdaughter that's older, but this little girl, she says, of her own, has brought so much joy, life, and color to their lives. She has a beautiful personality. She's smart and she's fun, and she adds a wonderful balance and completion to the family. And so, that's the life of the Purnells. That's Karen Purnell and all of her children, and her husband. And it's just wonderful to have witnessed, just the realities of not just the joys of motherhood, but the challenges of them, and how hopefully the mothers out there who are listening, how you can use this and encouragement to you to overcome, and to never lose hope, and to always be grateful for the great things and the joys that come with motherhood, and use your wisdom to get through the challenges, as my best friend Karen has done. So
And listeners, if you have any questions, comments, or just want to chime in on the next session that we have, you're welcome to sign in to our guest guide and send us a direct email through toctown.com. It's almost like we have so much more to talk about, not only with Karen, but with
Yeah.
Cicely. Oh my goodness, this is like, how those certain conversations that just start bubbling inside of you.
My goodness. Yeah, we could go on all night with this information.
Man, oh, thank you, Lord. This is all Cicely's idea, guys. This wasn't part of my program editorial calendar. She just brought the idea, and I was just like, okay, so
Yeah.
you
And
know,
it was really, we have to thank God because it was God's idea. It was the furthest thing from my mind. Like I was really trying to, see, and like, that's what the Holy Spirit is there for our creativity.
Amen,
And he
Amen.
just, dropped into me. I was like, huh, and we're always like looking, we've always talked about, Nicole, how to get some kind of interview styles, things going on. And
Right?
I was just unctioned. I just really want to focus on somebody else. And so who better like for me to have to highlight and just give celebration and honor to my best friend, 'cause I love her so much, and just to watch how she's overcome in so many areas in her life, and all that she has to do, like my goodness, I couldn't imagine, like literally I cannot wrap my head around it, because I mean I see myself as a single woman with no husband, no children, and it's like I barely have time. So I could imagine, I can't
Right?
imagine with her having a whole husband and whole three children and a whole full-time job, like how she does it all.
Well,
But she
let's
does, and I think it's
street.
totally amazing.
Oh, and I think too, when you hear golden nuggets like that, it not only just like it resonates with us. It's not just this, you can do it and hip hip hooray. No, it's like,
Yeah,
you know what? Let's dig in, find some
yeah,
people who have made it through, and we can all collaborate on some solutions on helping,
yeah,
other women, because it
yeah,
gets tough. And when I say
yeah,
tough, like,
absolutely.
I'm not putting it lighthearted, that certain situations are just, heart wrenching. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't end after half an hour of a sitcom with a good solution.
absolutely.
By the way, this is how we handled it. It's like, no.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
seasons,
absolutely.
like you said, when she miscarried, her with fourth child, was it?
Yeah, it was the third child.
Third
Yeah.
child. And it's like, but to eventually birth a fourth child, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's and I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, or even.
It is, it's so motherhood, I would say, probably is one of the things, as I've heard universally of other mothers, that really helps to bring you really close to God, right?
Oh yeah.
just because of the dependency, definitely that you have to have, even when you have a husband, it's like nobody can do it like God. Like when your husband won't suffice, and the best friend is not enough, and the prayers of the saints isn't enough. You have to have that direct contact, or like, hey, God, you gave me these kids, they came from you. And so it's like you have to go back to the manufacturer. You got to go back to the source of where they came from, even though the Lord used you parents to help get them here, but they came from God. And so, this is just an encouragement, to those parents out there who, the challenges of having children are real, but you got to have a hookup with God, and hold him accountable for those kids because they came from him. And so, if you don't know him the way that you need to, you got to get a hookup with the manufacturer because he's going to help you with any wayward children. That's his responsibility because they came from God.
And
So,
I think too, a lot of moms shortchange themselves, because for whatever reason, you downplay your vital role in your child's life.
yeah.
Whether
Absolutely.
whatever season you're going through or whatever challenges you're facing, know that God cares every inch about what's going on with you.
Yeah, he does.
And
Mhm.
he doesn't want you to lose yourself in the family, in the child, in the husband,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I love having conversations because if
Yeah.
someone went through a certain situation and God revealed himself, in such a caring, loving fashion where it wasn't, 1, 2, 3, wham bam, fix it. It was
Yeah.
this the long suffering, the fruits of the spirit,
Right.
where it's
Right.
like, you know what, no matter what, I will always be with you. That
Mhm.
that peace
Mhm.
that passes all understanding. It's
Yeah.
possible to experience that, as a
Yeah. Exactly.
mom.
Yep.
So don't give up, mom. It's like we're
Yeah.
pulling for
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys just, I mean, again, it is the most revered position I would say that, anyone can hold on the planet. As far as my personal opinion, that next to those who serve in the military, those are, a lot of my heroes as well. Again,
Right,
not a
military
job that you
moms,
just
you rock.
volunteer, yeah, not a job you volunteer to just sign up for, but that you have an added grace to do what it is you need to do to hold the positions you hold. And so, mothers, we honor you. I honor my mother, of course, and even being the single mom and doing it all alone. So whatever your lot, and you having your children, just don't forsake the great and rewarding position that you have. Honestly, because even me being without having birthing a child, like, you never know sometimes how rewarding you have it when when there's other people who don't have them, and yet desire them. But I have to walk on my own process, right? It can't be illegal and having kids outside of the covenant, but
That's a whole
but
nother subject.
but so I patiently wait, and hey,
Right.
if it's, even if it's what, has to be through by way of adoption or things of that nature, that's a whole nother lot, could be a whole nother cast,
Mm,
but that's a whole additional grace, that you have to, a level of compassion that you have to accept somebody else's child into your home as your own,
yeah.
so yeah, we can go on and on,
I
as
know.
I
I was
said.
like,
We
listeners.
just mothers, we love you.
I
We
know, right?
appreciate you. We love you. We know that you don't get enough of the love, adoration, and admiration and respect that you deserve. Truly, you do. So we just, use this little time to just express how much you matter. And Mother's Day just could not be significant enough to say thank you for all that you do. So to all the mothers out there, God bless you, and just continue to reap the rewards of your labor and in your motherhood.
Good night and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.